from CBS, another plane crash. CBS says 5 people injured in a plane crash in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, officials say. This is reported from today, and I don't. Is this the same story as the one that happened like yesterday, or is it another one? They say 5 people were injured after a small plane crashed in the parking lot of a retirement community. Right. Okay. So this was the one yesterday. Authorities said Monday that 5 people on board were taken to Lancaster General Hospital. Spokesperson said 3 of the patients were transferred from Health Network's burn center. 2 others were treated. Little said no one on the ground was hurt. In a statement, Brethren Village said, unfortunately, no residents were injured. Says, fortunately, no residents were injured and no damage was reported. However, 12 vehicles were damaged. Air traffic control audio captured the pilot reporting the aircraft has an open door when need to return for a landing. Now, we were talking about this. I was talking about this with Ben before the show. And there's a lot of questions about why we're seeing so many plane crashes. Is it DEI? Well, this appears to be like a private flight crashing. Why are we hearing so many stories of plane crashes then? It was the Delta flight operated by Endeavor that came in hard in Canada and belly flopped and then rolled over. And a lot of people said probably DEI because they think the pilot was female or the co-pilot was female who was doing the landing and the male was communicating with air traffic control. I don't know for sure. I will say this right off the bat. I know that many people have warned over the past year that DEI in the airlines is going to result in crashes. However, they all seem to have just started around the same time. We started getting all of these reports of plane crashes right at the same time. Yesterday, my brother was saying, could it just be that we're getting more reports of it? We're paying attention now. And then he goes, well, actually, if a plane crashed in a parking lot, I think it's national news no matter what happens. And it's like, yes, it's all just happening now. So how could it be DEI then? The liberals and the Democrats, the left, are all saying it's Trump's fault. But Trump didn't fire anybody when these things started happening. Trump had just gotten in. We started seeing these plane crashes. And Elon did not do anything with Doge to the airlines or air traffic control when these were crashing. So I don't think there's a strong correlation politically to the plane crashes. The question then is, why are so many planes crashing? Now, in this instance, it's that the door was open. I have no idea. Ben and I were talking, and he was explaining about polar shift and solar weather and things like that. And you're outright saying that we are in the midst of a polar shift, like the poles are shifting. The process has begun. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, certainly.
And so then I said, what if planes have started crashing? The wildfires are getting intense, not because of climate change, but because of solar weather, space weather, as it were. Maybe the instruments are getting messed up, and we're seeing this amplify or something. I got to be honest. It seems equally as a stretch to assume the instruments are failing as it is to assume it's DEI or Trump's doing, because there's no hard correlations. Only the question, why did all of a sudden we start seeing many different plane crashes in the span of a couple months?
You know, the last time I was on with you, it was a little over a year ago. That while I was here, that was when that airplane had that emergency landing on the highway. That was literally while I was here with you last time. And I remember back then thinking, man, is this DEI? Is this going to get worse? And it immediately clicked into my head that, like, one of the things I had told people was like, look, hey, this magnetic pole shift keeps going in this way. Eventually, things are just going to stop working for no good reason. Planes might start to have trouble on takeoff, landing, or maybe even, God forbid, while they're up at cruising altitude. And with it happening so much, it's really the point you were making about there doesn't seem to be any rationale for why DEI would come and bite us in the butts, like all
in a cluster,
in a cluster. And it doesn't make sense that it's a political thing because you would have done that before the election. But I mean,
well, if it was Trump's firing related, then we wouldn't have seen any crashes until after the firings happened. But in fact, we started seeing crashes before Trump had done anything. And so it could be DEI all catching up all at once, I guess. But if it was DEI, wouldn't you see a parabolic curve of little bits and then lots of bits, not just nothing and then within a span of a few months, boom, a big cluster of plane crashes? I guess, I'm sorry, just the point would be it opens the possibility of an external phenomenon to to our aircraft and our political system. Meaning, weather.
Do you think the pole shift can affect people's mental state?
Oh, it certainly is.
And you think we're in that now, where the people like at large are having problems mentally because of what's going on with Earth?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to completely derail this airplane thing, but they know two main things about what happens to our brains when it's exposed to an excess amount of the kind of energy that you'd get from the sun. First thing that happens is your hippocampus, mitochondria don't work quite as efficiently. Cognition goes down. It's a fun way of saying you get a little dumber. At the exact same time, that extra energy is overexciting the locus ceruleus in the dead center in there. And that's your reactivity to terror, panic, anxiety, fear. And so if it seems like people are all getting dumber while they're becoming more emotionally unstable and more reactive to panic and fear, yes. Yes, they are.
Now, just for context, because this does matter, we have a super chat from Baron of Gray Matter who says, on average, 1,400 general aviation plane crashes per year. Air traffic controller here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the things that I was going to bring up when there was a pause. The fact that we're seeing more attention paid to small aircrafts, like, so this is 5 people were injured. How many, like, how big was the aircraft? What size? Because there are regularly accidents of smaller aircraft. Smaller aircraft have, you know, and that don't make news beyond like the local news. Because if, not that I want to, you know, minimize death, but like if a handful of people die and it's not a major carrier and it's not at a major airport, it honestly is only a local news, you know, news story. So there can be like the super chat just said, 1,000 or so plane crashes every year, and it just so happens that they're getting more focused now because the news is focused on these types of events, because whether they have an intentional bias or not. There's all this talk about the FAA. There was the crash, the very public crash at DCA, and that kind of set the wheels in motion to be, oh, hey, you know, is there a problem with the FAA? Oh, there were these cuts. And so the narrative is built, and so you see more attention paid.
So what I would say is, how many different times in the last year have you seen a post on social media, plane got an engine on fire in the sky?
Yeah, multiple times.
And how many times did you see it before the last year? And
And so, is it really that people just didn't post it? I don't believe it. Shock content sells. If there were videos of planes with engines on fire, people would be posting them on X and Instagram nonstop.
I saw one of those engines on fire videos, and comments were like, "This is 5 years old," you know. So it seems like people are posting
Interesting.
it to,
How
you know,
about that?
because it fits
People
right now.
didn't consider to be like, maybe this video of a plane maybe crashing would get a lot of views.
Right.
The lead story on the Daily Mail this morning was of a woman in her seat in Brazil who got asked to move. Not kidding. Like, the Daily Mail was like, I know what story we'll lead with. It's a woman sitting by the window and someone asks her to move because a child is crying. And she didn't. And I'm like, if people are going to post that, wouldn't they want to post? People post all sorts of weird stuff in the sky all the time. Weird atmospheric events or rocket ships being, you know, launched and things like that.
Yeah. Or breaking apart, you know, falling back.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's as simple as we
look.
just didn't post.
Some people, they wait a long time to do stuff, okay? Some people wait 30 years after being raped to come and say something, and some people see an airplane in the sky on fire and wait 5 years to post that on the internet.
I see it's hot right now. I'm going to
Well,
put that
to
on
be fair,
Twitter.
like someone stealing and reposting a video that already exists.
Maybe,
I guess-
okay.
Yeah.
But it is kind of crazy to me that these stories weren't in the common news cycle. Like, all of a sudden, people are like, let's share a bunch of videos of plane crashes. But come on, like the Delta plane crashing and flipping over, and the Delta...
I've never seen anything.
or the plane crashing into the helicopter in D.C. Look, you can tell me that there's 1,400 accidents per year. Someone else mentioned that according to the NTSB, crashes are down. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure if at any point in the past 20 years a plane crashed into a helicopter, it'd be national news. If at any point a plane crashed and flipped over, it's national news. When the plane crashed in the Hudson, national news.
the one in Philadelphia just a few weeks ago.
Into the parking lot.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, those high-level crashes are all happening around the same time.
Like, I would like to know what the stats are if we take out single engine Cessnas, we take out private planes. Like, let's look at the big commercial carriers and let's count those up. I would be interested to see what those stats are.
If I understand correctly, at least in the U.S., the crash at the accident at DCA, that was the first plane crash in the United States, I think, since 2009.
Yeah, it was a big deal. They said commercial.
Yeah, first commercial one. The incentive for airliners to not have a mistake or have a catastrophic, crash or failure or whatever is very high. Not only because of regulation, which is what people think is the actual driver, but really it's litigation and damage to the brand. If you have too many crashes, they're gonna be like, people are gonna be like, I don't want to fly with that.
I got you. So I just asked our little robot friend. On average, there are 4 to 6 fatal commercial airline crashes per year worldwide. However, the total number of commercial aviation accidents, including non-fatal incidents, varies greatly but remains low, making commercial air travel one of the safest modes of transportation. I am going to ask it for clarification because I don't care about fatal crashes.
Yeah, it feels like they're just amplifying fear.
However, I then said, how many commercial crashes in 2025? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There have been 5 commercial crashes this year, and I believe
We are.
well, so Air Busan was everyone survived with 7 injuries. There was a light air service crash with 21 occupants, only 1 survived, so that's 1 fatal. You had the Potomac collision, 67 fatalities. The Bering Air Flight Cessna, let's see, what is that? Grand Caravan disappeared over Nome, Alaska. Oh, right, right. Yeah, 10 people died, and then the Delta Endeavor. 21 injuries. How many non-fatal commercial crashes on average?
I imagine that's not very many because it's hard to have fender benders when you're
30 to 50.
Really?
Commercial airline accidents per year, but that includes runway excursions, hard landings, bird strikes, gear up landings, and other mishaps.
Totally different.
Totally different. Totally different. Okay. How do you I guess fatal accidents is the important metric, and we have I think 3 of the listed ones are fatal.
Well, see, here's the thing. But then the Delta flight was sitting upside down on the tarmac. Nobody died.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 of which were fatal commercial airline incidents. So if there's 4 to 6 per year in 1 month, we have had the high end half the year's total accidents so far. So again, I think it's fair to say that we, as the average people, are noticing it's a weird thing to have that all happen at once. And these happened. So this is important because we have the dates on them. To January 28th, 29th, the Potomac River crash was 9 days after Trump got in. He didn't do anything. Those flight routes and those training, that training with the Blackhawk, that was all pre-planned. Trump didn't have a week to change that. So how did we get 3 fatal commercial flights in the span of a month started this year?
And then 1 flip over.
Right. and right, which is a serious accident.
That's a serious accident.
I don't know, man. It could be DEI. Seriously, any explanation is welcome at this point. You guys super chat, let me know what you think, comments. Because DEI doesn't make sense why it all happens in 1 month. Right as Trump gets elected, boom, it all happens. Was like a bunch of the DEI hires were hired but not allowed to fly just yet. And then the moment Biden was leaving, he clicked the button to activate their jobs. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I think it's just coincidence then that it's happening because the conversation about a crisis of competence has been something that's been ongoing for at least a couple of years now. People talking because we knew that DEI was a thing. This isn't a surprise that we're all just finding out about it. Maybe it is more common than we thought, or there's been more hiring of people based on DEI criteria than we thought, but it wasn't like this is a surprise. We've talked about.
Okay. DEI might actually be the explanation. In 2024, there were 16 fatal commercial airline accidents worldwide, 333 deaths. So we maybe just weren't seeing these reported as much, but they were definitely higher than the average over the past decade.
Yeah.
So maybe it really is that simple.
And, to be honest, it's obviously gone through my head, is this increased solar impact because we're losing Earth's magnetic field. You know, certainly that would drive views to my channel, wouldn't it? Gotta be honest.
Indeed.
Like, I've probably had 10 of those opportunities where, like, if I wanted to stretch, you know, stretch how I looked at myself in the mirror afterwards, I could have put out a viral video about something like that. But, you know, I got to be honest. I feel like when we got to that point, it would be even worse than this. Like planes falling out of the sky, like people suffering, like entire airplanes suffering acute radiation sickness, every passenger. You know,
People don't realize the radiation on planes.
yeah. And that's going through the roof right now. Eventually it's going to happen. There's going to be an incident. There's going to be a weak spot in the magnetic field. There's going to be a massive cosmic ray burst or something that happens every day, but isn't a big deal.
But and then everyone's going to get superpowers on the plane when the cosmic radiation hits them.
Literally everyone's going to start throwing up on the plane.
And they're going to call it a mysterious illness, and they're not going to check for radiation or anything like that.
No, I'm sure they're going to all just
Cover it up. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.